Go ahead and put your name in the chat for me. And then I need for you to get your note pages. Today's lecture is titled Intro to Clinic. One nine two six 601. 1926601. All right, go ahead and load that. Oh, let me open it. Hold on one second. All right, refresh. Go ahead and load that to your the title page to ICA number 4, and that's in week 5. ICA number 4, week 5, load your title page. Okay. All right. Pulle. Can you rename, get your little 3 dots at the top and rename to your first name for me? I think I know your name starts with a J, but
Dr. Dennis, I don't see the ICA in my modules. Would it be
yeah,
somewhere
right.
else I need to look at?
No, you have to refresh because it wasn't there initially.
Yeah, I refreshed it and I closed it back out and opened it. Let me try it again.
There might be some lag. Anybody see it yet?
Is it ICA number 4 or number 5?
Number 4 should be in week 5.
Is it for the PA chest?
Yes, we'll be doing some simulator work today. All right, Pulle. Tell me your first name. Oh, you got it for me. J. J. And sorry. J. Aaron. Lashika. Layla. Melody. Rico. All right, while you're waiting on me, I do want you to go to your announcements. There was an announcement earlier. VMC requested that I instruct the students to read the manual. So if you go to that announcement, go ahead and download the manual to your background or open up the manual to your background. And then also there is something that says Bont pages. See drift. Yeah. Right. All right, so if you just arrived, everyone has written down on their sheet of paper, Intro to Clinic 1926601. That is their title page, and they have loaded it to their week 5 ICA 4.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the number again?
1926601.
Thank
All right, they've also gone to their announcements and found the manual, which is in it's somewhere else, but the most recent upload was from the announcement. What was it? It says important message from virtual medical coaching support team. That's where you can find that manual. Maybe the trigger pages. All right, the next thing that I want you to write on your paper is chest PA and lateral. 72 inches SID. Look at my simulator. Or distance is what your tube says. SID means source to image receptor distance. All right, your angle for your tube is going to be perpendicular. All right, so it should be set at -90 for your chest x-ray and both PA and lateral. And this is just us looking at the tube, numbers on the tube. And your rotation is going to be 0 degrees. That's going to make sure that we are perpendicular. Let me share my screen. All right, so these are the numbers that I was talking about. Distance is SID. When you actually get to your procedures book, it'll list it in terms of SID. When we talk about the angle on your tube, when we say it's perpendicular, that means it's pointed straight at that object. So for us to point towards the chest bucky, it's at -90 degrees. And of course, no rotation on the tube. All right. If you look at the bottom of my screen, and I don't have a, I don't know if you can see, let me see if you can see my mouse moving around. All right, I think you can see my mouse moving around. All right, the very first icon on the bottom in your, I'll say your control window. All right, if you read the manual, this is our console. So, well, this is part of our console, or this would be like our EHR or radiology information system. This is telling us everything we need to know about our patient, name, date of birth, which we would, of course, verify those things. And of course, the reason why they're there and what type image they're going to be receiving. So, of course, we're going to be doing a PHS for this one. All right, the second window in your menu at the bottom brings us to another portion of the control panel, and this is where we choose, we can set our technique, meaning how powerful the beam needs to be to penetrate the patient. If we're using something called automatic exposure control, which is a piece of automation, you can only use this feature if we're using one of the buckies, whether it's a table bucky, which would be this icon right here at the bottom, the white, I can't see my mouse. Maybe I can, but yeah. All right, table bucky, bottom left corner, it's white. You see the tube sitting on top of the table, but you see the bucky underneath the table. The one that's in the middle that is blue on the very bottom column or very bottom row, this is our upright chest bucky. And then the one on the far right, that's any tabletop work. All right, you have to have the right bucky selected. In your practices, if you felt like you were doing something right, you saw light on your patient and you would never get an image, you never were getting an image, it's because you probably did not have the correct bucky selected. All right, so we're at the chest bucky, so chest bucky needs to be selected. Lung fields cover mostly the left and right of the board. So if we're using the AEC to help us, then we need to have the left and right chamber selected. So that is correct. All right, when you get into the real world, we can change technique based on patient size a little bit. So normally these little people at the bottom, they would sometimes change your KVP on the AEC, but it's not changing this for us. But we're going to say this is an average size patient. All right, let's go up to the top now, top right. All right, so I'll go back to the top left. So it's telling you your patient, your date of birth, large or small focal spot. Any bucky work is going to be large focal spot. It automatically selected it for you. Any table type work, meaning small parts, will be small focal spot for detail. The parameters that need to be set are mass and KVP, but since we're using the AEC, we don't get the option to choose the mass. The machine is gonna select it for us once it's once enough X-rays are received at our image receptor. But I'll take AEC off, and you can see now that we can choose our mass parameters at the bottom, MA and time, plus KVP at the top. So KVP, MA, and time, or mass together. We can split it or we can use it together. And that's just a little bit above our pay grade right now. So we'll go back to AEC. All right, the last thing that you need to be aware of on this control panel when you're talking about your what you're imaging, we said we wanted to image a chest. So the first guy right here at the top with the yellow head, that means if I select that, only thing that's going to show up is all facial head work. All right, arms, yellow arms, that's upper extremities. So all of those lie there. So if we were doing something tabletop and it involved an upper extremity, we would select that. Right here is all of your chest work. So abdomen, all of the spine work, CT and L, and then also your chest. And then last but not least, this guy would be lower extremities and the pelvis. All right, so that is what that corresponds with. But again, we're doing chest, chest, and we said that we were doing a PHS. All right, so we're set there. All right, next guy is to wash your hands. Depending on how you function in your facility, most of the time you will set your room up, especially when you're new. You'll set your room up before you bring your patient in because you're going to be slow and you're going to be fumbling. So if you know the exam, you'll go ahead and set your room up before you get your patient. Once you go and get your patient, you want them to see you, wash your hands, get some hand sanitizer, or either put on gloves, whatever you prefer. All right, and then next, the next ones outside of the skull at the far right are just different views. All right, so typically, if you're in an actual room, you see all of these views at the same time, but unfortunately in the simulator, we don't get to see all the views at the same time. We have to work in little steps. And we do work in steps, but we get to see, I'll say, a more overall view if you're in an actual room. So this is just you moving your tube however you want it. And the parameters that I told you, we said 72 inches. It's going to be better if you have a mouse or a touch screen because it's very, I'll say, sensitive. All right, so go forward that 0.5 inches. All right, and as you can see, it's very sensitive. In a room, we can get at exactly 72 inches. Here, it might take us some fidgeting back and forth to get exactly 72 inches. So as close as we can get it right now. All right, we already said -90 and we said no rotation. All right, rotation is controlled by these bottom two like swirls. All right, and we need it to be at 0. And then your angle, if you needed an angle, they're controlled by the top swirls. All right, but we don't need an angle. We need to be perpendicular to the patient. All right, so that is the first step, so to speak. But you can go in whatever order you want. All right, we skipped over, this one is not highlighted because that would be table Bucky. So if we were, let's say, doing an abdomen, that would automatically highlight for you because it's going to put your patient on the table. But in the real world, we could do an abdomen standing, but for the purposes of this simulator, it's going to put them on the table. So we're interested in the fact that we are doing the wall Bucky. All right, in your wall Bucky, you can only adjust the Bucky for height. All right, so you will bring it up to until it's you're able to see light above your patient's shoulders. So about 2 inches of light above your patient's shoulders is what you need. You want to make sure that you have a cassette in the Bucky, which we do. All right, and the next one is these two views give you a kind of a view of your patient. This one as the light coming from the tube, the eye, and this one in terms of how do I need to position my patient at the board. So I need for them to be completely, I guess, flat up against the board. For your PHS, you can use a left or right letter marker. It doesn't matter as long as it corresponds with the correct side of the body. The only thing that you will learn when you do actually go to clinic, we like to use the left letter marker for chest. And the reason why we like to use the left letter marker is because when we position the patient in the lateral position, their left side is against the board and we don't have to change our letter marker. Unfortunately, in the simulator, when we want to go to this lateral view, we have to start all over from scratch. But in the real world, once I get all of this set up, I would just turn my patient and put their left side against the board, bring their hands above their head, and make sure that they are completely perpendicular, so to speak, to the board. But in the simulator, you got to start from scratch all over. All right, so I said we were going to use the left letter marker. All right, I wouldn't be wrong to use the right letter marker, but when we use the left letter marker, it needs to be on the left side of the patient, so we would move it all the way to the left side of the board. All right, the next thing that we need to do is make sure that our patient is not only touching the board, but also flat against the board. So I'm going to rotate him the best of my ability in this view until I feel that he's straight. I'm going to bring his hands behind his back so that I can roll his shoulders forward so that they can touch the board. All right, and there's reasons why we roll the shoulders forward. I'm not going to get into it right now because you'll learn that in your procedures class. Right now, it's just a matter of you learning how to use your simulator and practicing with your simulator. All right, the next thing we're going to do is make sure that our patient is flush or touching the board, so we bring them all the way there. Now, on some of your images, I saw that your patient had on an artifact or a necklace, which is called an artifact. I'm going to leave this guy highlighted, but when this guy shows up, that is telling you that whatever image that you are about to take, the patient needs to take off the necklace. Typical procedure for the patient, get in the chest. Once you bring them back, you'll have them go to the dressing room, take off everything above the waist to include bras, piercings, necklaces. They'll put on a gown and then they'll come to you. So everything above the waist should be removed. All right, now from this view, I feel like I got them where I need to. So let's now go to another view. So this is the view of your tube. The lighting from your tube this is where we'll see it. So we turn on our collimator light. All right, and right now, we are collimated way too, not collimated. We have too much light, so we need to collimate in. All right, collimation means that we're going to open up the light field or close the light field because we don't need all of this area being irradiated. All right, so right now you can see that we are way too high. So we will bring this light down. All right, when we bring it down and you saw that the green light came on, this is saying that we are detinted. All right, detinted means that we are lined up the way that we should be with our bucky, whether it's a table bucky or whether it's a wall bucky, we need these green lights. If you don't have the green lights, what happens is, and I'll show you in here, something is going to be clipped, either on the left of the patient or the right of the patient. Sometimes it could be top to bottom. All right, so this is telling me that I am center on the bucky and I'm ready to go. Now, just looking at this image right here, let me show you the collimation real quick. We need to collimate down. All right, but not too much. All right, looking at the image right here, I can say for certain that the top or the apex of his lungs would be clipped. So I need to bring this wall bucky up. All right, now I'm looking at it from the side. I can see like a little sliver of light above the patient's shoulders on the bucky. So now I go back to the other view. And now I need to bring you see the green lights went off, so I'm no longer lined up like I should. So now I need to bring my tube back up to match. All right, now I have a little bit of light above his shoulder, so I'm sure that I'm not going to cut the apex. And then I have light at the bottom going all the way down. Our image receptor size is 14 by 17. So the bases of his lungs should not be clipped. All right, so I think I'm fairly in a good position to start. It'll be much easier. I won't say it'll be much easier, but when you're in the actual room, it's a lot easier to see all of this stuff going on at the same time versus going to the different views. Now, remember I said I did not take his necklace off. So we're gonna go ahead and take this image, close the door, give him breathing instructions, which you'll learn in your procedures class, second inspiration for a chest. And the reason why we want it on inspiration, we need for their lungs to be filled with air so that they're expanded. Prep, and then make the exposure. All right, so remember, ooh, sorry. I can bring that back. I like to be able to view the patient in the room because we do look at them through a window. And then here's your image. So we have all of the lung fill, apex, which is the tops of your lungs, all the way down to the base or the costophrenic angles. You can see the shadow there. And the only error here would be the fact that he has on that necklace. So the way that we correct that, we go back to the room. We take off the necklace and we go back. Not that we would do this on purpose. We go back, we go back and make the exposure. All right, so let's say you did not have those green lights that we were talking about. So see here, we are off center the patient. But let's go ahead and open up the light field more. And let's make that exposure. Gave us a shouldn't do that, but it gave us a good exposure because I opened up the collimation. But typically when you are not detented, you are going to clip something. So the simulator doesn't work like real life. Let's just close that collimation back down. All right, as you can see, if there's no light touching that part of the body, then it will not be in your image. And that's what collimation does for you too. All right, the next thing you might notice, so let me line this back up. All right, the next thing that you might notice, so we talked about collimation. Let's just go ahead and collimate more than we should. All right, collimate it more than we should. Take your image. That's pretty decent, but still the apices at the top are clipped. All right, we need to have the first rib in there. And you can see at the very bottom, the costophrenic, I don't know if you can see my mouse. Yeah, the costophrenic angles down here, they have to be included. All right, so if your collimation is too small, it could result in a repeat. And also we have now clipped our letter marker out as well. Another thing, so like when you're looking at your image, let me open the collimation back up. All right, another thing, remember how we said rotation and distance? All right, so let's just look at what rotation does for your image. All right, we said we need to be 0 rotation, but let's put some rotation on it. So it's putting an angle on your tube that you don't sort of kind of don't need at this point. The first thing it did for us is it took us off detent. All right, see how it threw the tube lighting to the right? Now we could very well go ahead and line this back up to get our green light, but tell me if you notice the difference between the first image and this image when we take it. Now your eye is not trained yet, but does anyone see the major difference? You don't have both images there, but do you see a major difference between the first and the first images and this image? Not any
Is it more to the right?
LMRTs. Go ahead.
Is it more to the right?
Yes. So in your first image, everything was like the symmetry was good. It was symmetric on both sides, minus the fact your heart sits to the right. On this image, how your instructor will be able to tell that there was something off with your angulation. Can you see the scapula difference on the left and right? It's not symmetric. You can see the humeral head is not symmetric. You can see the clavicles are not symmetric. And you can also see that the lung fields, one is more elongated than the other. All right, so that is showing you what like rotation can do for you. All right, another thing, let's go back to your tube. So let's take that rotation off. I take rotation off, I gotta go back, line it back up to get my green light. And then let's go with angulation. So some views require angulation. If we were doing a lordotic chest, it requires angulation. Most of the time we do it by angling the patient, but if the patient couldn't move, then we could angle the tube. So angulation, we can angle what we call cephalic, which would be towards the head, and we can angle caudad, which would be towards the feet. All right, so I'm gonna angle cephalic, so towards the patient's head. All right, when you do that, you got to bring it down to match again, get that detent going back on. All right, and we're going to take this image. All right, you wouldn't know the differences with an untrained eye, but it goes into like where your clavicles sit and how much some of these things pop out for you, and also whether or not your ribs are, what word do I want to use? Ribs are like sitting on top of each other. I can't come up with the correct terminology right now. But here I can see posterior and interior ribs more so in the rear. Go ahead.
They look like crisscrossed a little bit there with the angle. I mean, like they're not lined up, I guess.
Yeah. So before they were like sitting on top of each other, the posterior and the anterior, but now since I put an angle on it, I've shifted some of the anatomy up. So let's go to um and then the clavicle shifted too. So let's go to a caudad angle. So just note this position. Oh, that might be too much. Oops, messed that up. Let me go to this view. All right, too much angle, so I can't get where I need to be. So let's take some of the angle off. Back to center again. All right, let's take this one. All right, and again with the untrained eye, you would not know, but as you are in the field, again, clavicle shift and the ribs also shift in terms of where they sit. All right, now go back to the regular view. All right, you see how these clavicles are here? Let's take the angle off the tube. Back to 90. And take the image. All right. So this is some of the things that your instructor is going to be looking for as you're taking your images, but you don't have that class until um, probably two more terms, maybe three more terms. But just getting familiar with your simulator, getting comfortable with your simulator, because you're not going to have a whole lot of time. Let's say you're taking a test and she says, hey, I need for you to go in your simulator, do a chest x-ray. You're not going to get 30 minutes to sit there and do a chest x-ray. She'll give you X amount of time to do it, and then you'll move to the next exam. So it's like a lab competency. All right, so any questions about what the functions of, and right now we're just Bucky, wall Bucky, but as you're going to the different Buckies, anything Bucky, you need that green light. Anything tabletop, you need to make sure that all of the anatomy is included in the center, and then of course you haven't collimated anything out. All right, any questions?
When I was doing the x-ray with the left and right, is that like we're standing behind the patient and it's the patient's left?
It's the patient's left. So if this patient was AP, like facing us, then it would still be the patient's left, not our left. Now, note when it comes out though, all right, this is still the patient's left, even though it's our right. When we're
Okay.
looking at the patient, their left is our left. But when it's facing us, this letter marker, this left, see how the heart is shifted to the left? So we know that this is the correct letter marker. But we wouldn't be wrong to have a right letter marker on the right side. We just
Okay.
have to make sure it's on the right side of the body.
Okay. And then also when I was going through the simulation, you can turn the letters around. I think that's what was most confusing to me was because it flips it like the letter L. What does that mean? Is that just
Nothing really. In real life, you can't flip it. It's gonna come however it goes, but however you put your letter marker on the board is how it's gonna come out, unless you add what we call a post-process letter marker. Let's say you forgot your letter marker or you clipped it out. It's wrong to do it legally, but you can add a letter marker to, in real life, you can add a letter marker to these images. Let's see what our post processing does for us. Let's see. Let's go out of here. It's not the view that I want. Go to, what did we just do? This is not it. So lateral chest. Let's just look at any of these. I think I'm in the wrong account. Oh, that's the report. I want to look at the image. All right, so this is an image. This is not the view I want. Oh, I think I need to be an assessment. Let me quit. I'll figure out where that menu is. I think it is in assessment, so. It's gonna take an image. Just so I can see. Oh, no, I have the right Becky. All right, I just wanted an image up here. See where it says menu right here at the bottom? I don't know, am I sharing my screen still? No.
Nope.
Shoot. All right. See where it says, let me see if I can go back. And this is in the assessments piece. See where it says menu at the bottom of the screen? Yes or no? Okay. I don't recall the first in the practice having the menu, but in the real world, you will have a menu. That menu will allow you to change what we call contrast and brightness of your image. And when we say contrast and brightness, if you see contrast is like your shades of gray, and brightness, of course, is how dark or how light it is. So see how it changes the image itself when you're messing with those parameters? We don't like to do that a lot because when you do that, once you save the image, some data is lost and the radiologist has less to work with it. So we just want to make sure that we have the correct technical factors from the start. Of course, this would be a repeat because the image, everything that I need in the image is not there. But some other things that would be here are the option to add letter marker, the option to add things like annotations, arrows. You can zoom in. We typically would probably use zoom in. Let's say I think I may have clipped the claustrophrenic angles. I can zoom in to make sure that I didn't, or if I think I clipped a part, I can zoom in. But that's really the only thing. Or maybe we're just being nosy and we think we see a fracture. I can zoom in to try and see that. All right, but that is your menu option. All right, and again, unfortunately, every time you want to change, when I go to my lateral, it makes me start fresh. But in the real world, you don't start fresh. You just turn your patient from the height that they are, put their arms above their head, making sure that they are straight, and then you go take the image. But here you have to set it up from scratch. All right, so any questions about the simulator? You will need to read the book. You will need to practice. And for those of you that were getting this just a black screen, when you think you're like, I have light on the patient, why am I not getting anything? That goes to the button at the bottom, whether or not you're on the right bucky. So you probably were not on your wall bucky, and therefore you were not getting an image. So again, you must practice to become proficient. And if you don't, you're going to get really frustrated when it comes time to getting actual real-time grades for the simulation. So,
I have a
all right.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
How do we take screenshots for the homework when we're doing this to submit that?
You can just take a screenshot of it. I'm not sure what type of computer you have. You can take a screenshot from, so for me with my mouse, if I right click, it'll say screenshot, and I can take a screenshot and drop it into a document or whatever. But you can also go to, see my name at the top?
No, you're not sharing your screen anymore.
Let's see. Keep doing that.
Jenny, I use the snipping tool if you got right for HP or Microsoft.
Yeah, that's what I have. I have HP.
Yeah, I don't know if you got snipping tool. That's what I use, and then just save the image.
Okay, what is that? Just like a download it on my computer?
It should come with your computer, and you just basically like outline it, and then it will save for you.
Okay.
All right, so see your name at the top? And this should be on all views. Let me see, is it on the content view too? Or you can go to your report. So if I go to my reports, here's my report. I can just go to my report and I can find my image, accept it or reject it. I say I'm gonna accept it. Why? Because I like it. And you can grab your report as well.
Do we need to do that when we take the images, go there and accept it?
Not necessarily. You don't have to at this moment, but this is another place where your instructor will see if you were doing what you needed to be. So if a few things are here. If you scroll to the bottom where it says tube distance, remember we said it should be 72, rotation should be 0, angulation -90. Of course, we were collimated too much. This is typically for a chest going to be 14 by 17, depending on the orientation of your film. So these are some of the things that they will also use to grade you as well. So just again, make sure you read the manual, make sure you practice a lot, because when you do get to your procedures class, or when you're in your regular classes during simulations, depending on how strict your instructor is, they might grade you a little bit harder. But for these next few exercises, it's going to be, we just want you to practice. So if you get this black image, I don't want you to give up. I want you to figure out how to get the image. All right, any questions? All right, so quickly, I'm going to go over about a few pages of your. Anybody have questions about the lesson this week? It was pretty easy lesson. Let me get out of here. All right, the majority of our class period, I want you to spend time with one of your peers in your simulator room. While you're in the simulator room, it would be great in the, I know some students, you have to use it in the internet mode. Like you don't want the application itself to take over, because if the application takes over, then you may not be able to share on your screen. So try to use it in the like the browser mode versus the app mode. And I would like for you to share your screen, each of you, or at least one of you share your screen as you're working through the PHS and the lateral chest to see what type images that you can come up with. What should those images look like? They should look like, let me see if I shared the Bontrager pages. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to open this announcement up for you all, or go ahead and post it. But I just took a few pictures of some of the, oh no, this is the one. We don't need this one. We need the other one. That was for February 14th. Maybe it was it. Open it back up and see. Like extremities. I'll find the Bontrager pages for the chest while you're on break so that I can share that with you. When we come back, we'll put you in the simulator rooms with a peer or two peers, depending on how many rooms I decide to open up. But this particular section or chapter focus on clinical education. Of course, you know that you will be going to clinic. That's where you're going to practice in real life on your patients. So when you get to the clinical setting, what usually happens is the first thing that you're going to do, you're not going to just jump right in, especially since you've not even had a lab experience, so you don't even really know how to connect with your patient because you're not practicing it. You're going to observe your tech. All right, they're not probably even going to let you touch their patients. So you're going to watch them for typically it would be a day or two watch. I mean, they'll let you assist, but for us, unfortunately, the most of us we don't know anything about X-ray. So you're going to have to watch first. Then they'll let you participate. Most students, traditional schools, they're going to be going in and they will actually know how to position at least a chest, abdomen, and some of the upper extremities when they first go to clinic because they would be in a real lab at the schoolhouse and they're getting graded. They're doing lab competencies. In order to start work, then they would get a lab competency, and that's how their clinical coordinator and instructor would say, okay, they're going to be okay for us to put them at the site, because if you show a lack of competence, sometimes the site will request that you're removed from the site. So just keep that in mind when you're at the site that one, you have to always be engaged and show that you want to be there. Like you're not just there clocking hours, you're there to learn and perfect this craft. So you observe first, then you participate, and then eventually they will let you comp or do it yourself. When you first start comping and you're good, they're still going to watch you. It will be something that we call direct supervision, meaning they're always going to be in the room with you. They're not going to take their eyes off of you. They're not going to leave you with their patient. But let's say, after a few weeks, you've done it over and over again with them watching you, then they will give you a little bit of rope and they will let you do it with indirect supervision. So let's say we have 2 rooms, and we have a lot of patients. We trust you to do a chest, so maybe we'll give you a few chest patients while we're trying to catch up with the rest of the patients, but we're still in the actual area with you. We should never be, let's say, down the street or down the hall. Someone still has to be in the room with you. So that's really all this week's chapter talked about was what happens when you get to the clinical setting, what's going to be expected when you get to the clinical setting. So let's come back at 7:10. Once we get back, again, we're going to go to our breakout rooms and you will be working with a peer. Did everyone get their computers situated?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I don't think it was just you. Do
I
we
have my
have
personal
anyone?
computer. I just haven't logged into the website yet. I'll be doing that tonight with you guys.
Okay. Make sure you remember you got to download the software.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. It's not a Chromebook, is it?
It's a MacBook.
Okay, you're good. All right. So make sure you get that downloaded while you're on the break. All right, so I'll see you at 7:10. For those of you who are not able to figure out how to keep it from taking over your computer, if you can't get it to function in like a split screen or you don't have a second screen, see, you may need to log in with your phone as well so that you can still participate with your group.
I mean,
All right,
log
did
in
everybody?
Zoom call on the phone. Is that
Yes,
what
you could just like you would go to your regular class, you would just be in here a couple times on your computer so that you can see your group work and then on your phone as well. You'll just probably have to, let's see how we did it before. Is there an echo? You'll probably have to turn the volume down on one of them. All right. So, did everybody get the Bontrager page? Bontrager pages are in your chat. And we're going to work with the second one. Everybody get it? All right, if you open up that Bontrager page and go all the way to the end document, number 17, and you blow it up for yourself. Hello?
I I didn't I didn't get the I didn't get the bond trigger.
Who's speaking?
Let me see. Sadara. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm gonna log in from my phone.
Yeah, did you drop off or something? It should be, if unless you dropped off, it should be in your chat window. Here, I'll just load it one more time. Hold on. Get out of Jasmine. All right. Here. See it now? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if you open up the one that just says Bont pages, scroll all the way to page number 17, some of the things that I was talking about. All right, this is how your book is going to give you the information. So, indications why you would do it. Technical factors, SID, that's your distance, 72 inches. We can use that cassette either lengthwise or crosswise. That's just 14 long versus, I'm sorry, 17 long versus 14 wide, meaning the light field, and then 17 wide versus 14 long, depending on your patient's body habitus. A lot of males we use with this crosswise, we call it portrait versus landscape. A lot of males, we do landscape. Your technical factors are right here. It always gives you a KVP range. And if you're using the AAC like I told you about, it's going to help you with the mass. We don't talk about shielding right now, but the patient position is everything that you saw me doing with the patient. This is what is happening. This is how we need the patient. The part position goes hand in hand with the patients in terms of where you center on the patient. And as you can see right here at the bottom of part position, it says in parentheses, top of your cassette is approximately 1.5 to 2 inches above the patient's shoulders. That's why I was saying that there's light above the patient's shoulders. That's telling you that the cassette is above. And then CR is perpendicular, that's at -90, centered at the mid-sagittal plane, so the plane that splits your body into equal left and right halves. And we center at T7, which is right below your vertebra prominence. We use like what is it, like a hook 'em horns type technique sometimes, where we go to the vertebra, put the pinky on the vertebra prominence or the thumb, either way, and then where the other finger meets is where T7 is kind of at. And then respiration, second full, and then collimate on all four sides. And this is what your image should look like. It looks a little more exaggerated in the simulator, especially the first rib. It's way above the what do you call them? Apices, but this is what it should look like. You have both tops, which is your apex, and then you have all the way to these angles at the bottom. All right, if your angles are clipped or the top is clipped, then of course it is a repeat. And there's different types of chest that we can get, but the two that you're going to be interested in first is just your PA on an ambulatory patient, meaning standing, and your lateral on the ambulatory patient. All right, so we don't have that long, so about 15-20 minutes in the simulator with your peer. All right, regardless of if we finish in class, the two images that I need loaded to your ICA is a PA chest and a lateral chest. I need that in there before midnight. All right, y'all ready to go? All right, let's see, let's do maybe 8 breakout rooms. All right, soon as you get assigned, go ahead and go to your breakout room.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello. Okay, so she said that we have to take a picture of the
Hi guys, sorry.
Hi.
I don't think you're not in the breakout room yet.
Oh,
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 Well, it was 4, so I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
oh,
All right. You're muted, Melody. But I think you're in a room and you're still in the main room because you have 2 devices. Holly, you need to join your room.
Hi.
I think I might just upload the like the assessment part.
Hello?
Did everybody finish or are we still on the same one? New project.
Hello? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Hold on. Because I'm on a whole another Zoom in a different group. So I was trying I was trying to join this Zoom with this group and I don't even know. Oh man. It says it's me and you. Okay.
Just a few minutes, let everyone trickle back in here. All right, I think everyone's back. Unfortunately, I didn't get to make it to every breakout room, but from what I saw in several of them, looks like you all were able to kind of help each other. For some of you that were a little bit stronger than others, but you will have to practice. You will have to read the manual, right? You can't, I know we like to just open things up and figure them out, but if you don't read the manual, you're just going to be frustrated when you're doing these simulations. So read the manual and allow it to step you through the process. Use the Bontrager pages to kind of compare. I know some of the things that you don't know yet, as far as some of the terminology that we use in procedures classes. But if you watch some of the videos that I posted, as far as them actually doing it in a real lab, you'll know exactly what to do in the simulator. You just have to, it just won't be a live version. And you can use the Bontrager pages as well. That is not something that you need to like know right now. But once you do get to your procedures class, you will need to know that. So if your instructor is, let's say, testing you one-on-one, and she asks you, what's the SID for chest? What's the positioning for a PHS? Where's the central ray, et cetera, you have to be able to give that information live to your instructor by recall. That's something that students have to do. So hopefully you got a little bit more comfortable with the simulator so you can finish out your homework. If you are still waiting on the computer, I hope it comes so that you don't get too far behind. But once you get your computer, you're going to have to download the appropriate software, and then you can work in your module, your positions. All right, so I have to get to my next class. Any questions for me?
No.
Do we have to upload anything else for the ICA?
Like the notes or anything?
PA and lateral chest, in addition to that first thing that we uploaded.
Okay.
And you want the report and the picture?
No, I just want one or the other.
Okay, so we could just screenshot it and upload it to the, okay.
Just one or the other. I can always go into your learner report to figure out if you actually did it. It just makes it easier if you load the images versus me going to your report.
Okay.
All right, well, I'll see you next week. Oh, don't forget to do your midterm.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
All right, see you later.
All right.
See you
See
later.
ya.
Bye.
Mhm.
Okay.